you've certainly been through some controversy, but nothing like this. Is Hollywood overreacting here, in your view?
No, actually, it's been kind of interesting to see how Hollywood has reacted to all this. You know, the first response that Sony gave was really to succumb to the threats of the terrorists, and that brought about, you know, a lot of negative reaction from not only, you know, the federal government, but also people within the industry, because they saw that sort of reaction having almost an instant chilling effect on freedom of expression, and would really begin to mandate how studios would greenlight projects, what sort of projects that they would take on. And then we see Sony do really an about-face, and really almost what I think is a slap in the face to the independent theaters, the ones, you know, with the courage to show a controversial film or a film that brings controversy, by releasing it on the internet at the same time, really, you know, taking away the possibility for those courageous independent theater owners to take advantage of the opportunity to have a large studio film with a lot of public interest.
Yeah, so it sounds like, in your view and a lot of people's view right now, Sony just got this one all wrong. They didn't handle it right from the beginning. They were intimidated and then did this about-face where it really hurt the independent producers and anybody who would have been looking to gain financially from this, not just themselves. So what does it do to, you know, the future of Sony and the willingness of filmmakers to engage in business with them?
Yeah, that's going to be something we'll have to look forward to. I mean, it's been it's sad. No one would ever want their private conversations made public. Certainly to have all of their records and activities made public, like the hackers have done. But it's been a little entertaining to sort of peel away the onion skin behind what drives these studios. You know, my partner John Aglioloro got the rights to Atlas Shrugged, an incredible book, and yet couldn't find a studio willing to take this message to the masses. And you begin to see sort of the mindset behind the studio. I can't imagine artisans,
Why do you think
creative
that was?
people.
Was it just sort of the political bent of people there in Hollywood?
Well, I think that there takes a certain level of courage to take on controversial material. And you know, Atlas Shrugged has a very powerful message. It's been around for a long time. A lot of people have been inspired and influenced by the book. And I just don't think that the studios could really wrap their head around whether or not they could find an audience in America that would want to support a movie with this sort of message. So it really took a courageous entrepreneur outside of the Hollywood system to take it on and show them that it could be done.
But, you know, as we look forward now to the future of Hollywood and these attacks, I mean, I think it is probably a big wake-up call for every business out there, and certainly those in Hollywood, that we're all vulnerable to something like this. How do you think Sony will move forward in light of this crisis, Harmon?
Yeah, I think that they're really going to have to look at, you know, what image they want to have, what sort of studio they want to be for filmmakers, what sort of product that they want to put out. And at the same time, I mean, the studio business is a very small group of institutions, and I think that the other studios will seize upon the weakness that Sony is showing now to try to affiliate themselves with the commercial filmmakers, the ones with track records, the stars that you know, have the marquee value. And I think it's going to be very tough for Sony to really move forward in the way that it has in the past.
Harmon, have you seen the movie?
I did see a bit of the movie. And
what do you think of it?
Well, on the Harmon Kaslow scale, I wouldn't give it too much of a thumbs up, but I'm really glad to see that that Sony took the courage, you know, to release it. As I said earlier, I thought it was a real shame they released it online. That was a total slap in the face to the independent theater owners, and it was almost like it was a nod to, you know, the large theater chains that did agree or did decide not to show the movie.
Corey Johnson, I know you got to see the movie, The Interview. What did you think of it?
Well, as a professional in the news business, I now have a new inspiration in James Franco. But it made me think about, you know, you know, Seth Rogen, James Franco are guys who bring movies to the theater and have a lot of ideas and bring them to fruition. And Harmon, I wonder, you know, when you look at Sony's about face and their decision to finally release this film after refusing to do so and being called out by the president even, are they more afraid of Kim Jong-un or are they more afraid of George Clooney?
Yeah, you know, that's a good... it's hard to really guess who's really driving the ship over there, because the decisions have just been very circular in nature, very confusing, and seem to be very reactive as opposed to some principle that they want to stand on as an institution and show the world what they will do in the face of this sort of crisis.
Harmon, are you looking for Sony to distribute any of your future movies?
You know, for a filmmaker, you always want to have the big power of the studio behind your motion picture. But I think you're going to see, for example, in the Academy Awards coming up in 2015, that most of the pictures nominated for Best Picture will not be ones that came from the studios.
There's some talk, Harmon, that they could have benefited, Sony could have benefited from actually pulling the film altogether, because they could have filed the insurance claim and thus saved themselves a lot of money. In your view, is that in fact what was behind their original thinking?
No, I think that they were just reacting. They didn't quite know what to do. It was a very large invasion of the intellectual property, not only of the interview, but other properties owned by Sony. And I think they were just trying to figure out what their next move should be. It's a huge company. They could easily sustain a loss associated with shelving a film like this. But I think that the public reaction, the uproar, the cause for the CEO to have to respond to the president, the George Clooney's and others signing letters saying, how can you allow the freedom of expression, something so inherently valuable in being an American, go away simply from a hack into your software systems? I think that was really the basis for them to make an about face.
Ultimately, if you might see some management changes there just because of how poorly all of this was handled.